The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now, 865-243-TALK. That's 243-8255. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome to the Patrick Riggins Show. Hello, my name is Patrick, and I cannot drive 55. Well, I take that back. I can drive 55 on the way to 90 or 55 on the way down to 0.
Just pass it a couple times?
Yeah, on the way back or forth. But exactly 55, no, probably not going to happen. And if you're listening to this radio show for any amount of time, you know this to be true. This is the fast-paced radio program speeding down the highway to freedom and liberty. There is no speed limit on this road, but unfortunately, there are quite a few speed bumps. The vehicle bringing you all this fun and excitement this week and each week is the radio station known for burning up the airwaves, WNOX FM 100.3. Fueled by 100,000 watts and currently being heard in parts of 5 of these great southeastern states and 2 time zones. Yeah, time that out good.
You're learning.
Yes. If you have a fast computer, you'll need to keep it. You'll need one to keep up with this show. You can opt to watch and listen over the internet. I guess you also need a speedy web connection as well. Just bring up your web browser and type in www.wnoxfm.com. There you'll see us breaking through the barriers of oppression, repression, and other pressions. That address again is wnoxfm.com. And riding here along in the sidecar is our show producer, Tori.
What's up?
How's it going today, Tori? Enjoying this cold weather?
No.
I hate it.
No, do not like it. But I don't mind being in here in my aquarium when it's gray and cold outside. So,
well, for everyone who listened to this show, well, listen to Cherry Spotlight, the show I had last year, and then I guess that would be the closest. Yeah, last year when we were coming into the fall. And for all the new people listening to the Patrick Riggins Show, you'll soon learn this is the start of the season where Tori and I scream and yell every week about the bad weather and how we hate the cold.
Cry and gripe and moan.
Yeah. And that continues until, what, March?
Oh, like a cold.
Yeah.
Like it.
I need to go. I need to go to Florida. There needs to be, some of these radio shows I hear broadcast from down there once in a while.
Florida.
Yeah, they need to call us up here and say, hey, come down and broadcast from someplace warm.
I think we need to take the Patrick Riggins Show to either L.A. or Key West.
I don't know if I can go to L.A. I don't think they'll approve my visa there. they take one listen to this show and no, I'm not getting into L.A. California for that matter. So, all right, thank you again for tuning in this week. You're listening to one of the fastest growing shows of its kind, the Patrick Riggins Show, where each week we are fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. And, every once in a while, you question why so many people in this country seem to want to have government in their lives. I think part of the reason is they have never been made to accept responsibility. And when they get numerically older, they are still like children wanting a parent. And the government is all too happy to step in and fulfill that role. The good news is that lately, with this election, it seems as if the tide is starting to turn somewhat, if only a little. You can hear it on the radio, the television, read it in newspaper columns on the internet. Libertarian-type thinking is coming into vogue right now, and we're starting to have a lot of people who want to jump onto the bandwagon for no other reason than to be seen as the cutting edge of political thought. However, these are the first people to bolt when the going gets tough, when they start getting questioned about these libertarian principles. If you listen to what they've been saying in the past, they're nothing more than joiners. When Reagan conservatism was in vogue, they were Reagan conservatives. When Bush conservatism was in vogue, they were Bush conservatives. Now that Ron Paul has been making some waves and attracting some attention, now these same so-called conservative commentators are all incorporating some libertarian ideas into their shows. And this is sad, really, that they're no more grounded in principle than that. The dirty talk or dirty secret and dirty talk and talk radio, yeah. The dirty secret in talk radio is that these hosts just give people what they want to hear. They don't really believe in true libertarian ideas. Just listen to how they contradict themselves over and over. And along these same lines, and I talk about this theme each week, don't let the media distract you from the real important part of elections, getting good congressional representatives into office. Now, we had the debates this last week, and if you listen to my show before this last Sunday, and you can get that on youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show, you heard where wasn't a real big fan of the debates because they're put on by both parties, and we're given the choice of Tweedledee or Tweedledum, and you can decide which one's D and which one's dumb, but the fact of the matter is there's just not a whole lot of difference between these two guys once you start getting into their ideas and their voting record. Now, like I said, Congress is the key to turning this country around. To all these people who are just now figuring this out, I say, hey, welcome to the party. It's about time people realize what I've been saying on this show ever since it started. And even before that, on my other show I used to do here on the station, my little political comments would sneak in. It's funny when you hear these people talking, these new people to this idea, talking about concentrating on Congress. It's like they've discovered this new and amazing idea. You know, I don't care how they came upon this realization. I'm just glad they're finally starting to see the light. But by listening to this show, you have known this since spring. And if you listen to the other show, you've known this for years. And we have a jam-packed show this week. We have a lot to get to, so we're going to get to this first break. And when we come back, we'll jump into Congress, calling by Andrew Napolitano, some stuff about the Postal Service, all sorts of stuff. And probably some foreign aid and stuff like that, too. Foreign policy stuff. Anyway, this is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show. We'll be back after this first break.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show. Along with Tori here, spinning the rejoin there with the lots of little lies floating around. Yeah. We should stick on the back of that Fleetwood Mac, Little Lies. You know, tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Yeah, or we could go that direction or go Henry Rollins.
Yeah, probably the Henry Rollins would be better.
We're a little bit more aggressive here.
Yeah, instead of the soothing, put you to sleep music.
You be screamed at. You need to be woke up.
You do need to be woke up today.
Bit, smacked around the head a little.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here in this country needs to be awakened. Wake up! Yes. I want to talk a little bit about Congress. I hit on this a little bit, and I just nail these guys week after week after week because this is where we need to be concentrating. We don't need to be putting all of our eggs, so to speak, in the presidential basket because to begin with, the president shouldn't have this much power anyway. That's not how it's supposed to be. Concentrating power with one person, and ideally, really, in reality, it's quite a few little people in his circle, is not good. This is why dictatorships don't work. This is why we have a Congress. And we need to start holding these guys' feet to the fire to get the power back closer to the people. Now, as I said, Congress is key to reforming this system, and we need to stop electing these people who are willing to sell out their fellow citizens at the drop of a hat. That's what politics really is, you know. To take an economic look at it, politics is a market-based structure, and this is my definition. I don't think you'll find this anywhere else on the internet. So this is Patrick Riggins' definition of politics. It's a market-based structure where we find out the price at which you will sell out your principles or your country or your soul. And I think that's what politics is. That's what it seems to be. What do I need to offer you in order to get you to vote for something with which you don't agree? Now, if it sounds like you're bargaining with the devil, you're about right. But lest we throw stones, we sit around and joke about politicians not wanting to make a decision when we sit out here and do the exact same thing. We pass term limits because we cannot be bothered with voting someone out of office. We don't want to worry with it, so the law will do it for us. We can also blame the law when someone good gets removed from office. We are too lazy, or we label it too busy, so it doesn't sound so bad. We are too lazy to go and vote on Election Day, a day you know far in advance when it's going to be. So we have to have early voting. And even then, we cannot get a decent turnout for elections. These days, we are too busy keeping up with what's going on in Hollywood or on television to be bothered with something that is affecting our country. No, just sit out there and don't worry. The government is going to provide you with everything. Now, are we really all sheep? Do we really lack good leaders in our society? We certainly don't have any leadership in Congress. And if we do get a good leader, the media, coupled with our complacency, do their best to tear them down, to impugn them, to denigrate their achievements. Whatever they have, they must have stolen, because I don't have it too. No matter they work harder than you do, you should still have the exact same outcome even though you haven't worked for it. Isn't that right? That's what they're teaching our kids in government schools. Everyone should be equal. And if they're not, then it's because somehow someone cheated and got ahead. This is why Congress abdicated their responsibility and give essentially lawmaking authority to all these agencies in Washington. They don't want to have to answer for making hard decisions. They want to point to that agency and say, see, be mad at them. They're the one who made that decision, passed that rule or regulation, not me. I didn't say you couldn't build that. The EPA did. I didn't have anything to do with that. That isn't Congress care. It's Obamacare. Only Obama didn't pass it. Congress did. Take some responsibility. Get some backbone and do the right thing. Is it really that hard to do? There are many things in life I have to do that doesn't make me Mr. Popularity, but should I sell out my principles to get along? Well, what happens next time? The president was halfway right when he says you cannot change Washington from inside, when he says the buck doesn't stop with him. It is us that needs to make the changes. If the president is doing something extra constitutional, and for those of you who may not understand that, they're doing something that's unconstitutional, then impeach him. That is the responsibility of Congress, to look after our interest and ensure the safety of our rights, ours, the citizens of this country. Yet, we continue to sit out here and talk, but every election is the same. Same crappy domestic policy, same screwed up foreign policy, same screwed up everything. Let's start making some changes, starting now. Start reading and educating yourself. Start helping out with the Libertarian or similar organizations trying to bring about change. All the information you could ever want is on the internet, and these organizations are all there as well. If you ask, they would be glad to have you start spreading the word and helping them grow. Now, I want to move on to something else just real quick, and it's a little bit of a 90-degree turn here. Well, maybe not, because it has to do with foreign policy. We've had some stories coming out of Afghanistan. I got a couple more stories on that, too, I'll hit on this show. 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how we have these foreign wars and why we're involved, and didn't get a chance to talk about a couple of things. Involved in an argument put forth about why we might be involved in Afghanistan for not purely Taliban reasons. Now, an article ran in New York Times back in the summer, and I just ran across this. It stated, in the past few years, vast deposits of untapped mineral wealth worth billions of dollars have been identified there in Afghanistan, and the Afghan government hopes these deposits of copper, oil, gold, iron ore, and critical industrial materials like lithium could provide valuable revenue for the country as international financial support begins to wind down. It is also in the process of negotiating a series of contracts with companies to develop the projects. What I find amazing is how we just now found this out. We had no clue at all that this was underneath the ground over there. I'm sure the government of Afghanistan won't kick the people off the land they have lived on for generations to get to it, right? So, if our military wasn't in the Middle East protecting all these companies' interests in all these unstable regions, then they would have to do it themselves. And why should a company pay the local people when it can convince the United States government to do it with their military for no cost to the company? Well, except for campaign contributions to the representatives who are voting to stay over there to help that country's government, so to speak. What we're really looking out for is one of this or that company's interest. And if you don't think that happens, go to Wikipedia, and this is kind of what I hit on here before. You can get on the internet, and there's a lot of stuff on the internet that's just hooey, and there's a lot of stuff on there that you can tell is not. This was on Wikipedia, and if you do a Wikipedia search on Banana Wars, here is an excerpt from that page. Perhaps the single most active military officer in the Banana Wars was U.S. Marine Corps Major General Smedley Butler, who saw action in Honduras in 1903, served in Nicaragua, enforcing American policy from 1909 to 1912. He was also awarded the Medal of Honor for his role in Veracruz in 1914, and a second Medal of Honor for bravery while crushing the Keiko resistance in Haiti in 1915. Now, in 1935, Major General Smedley Butler wrote in his famous book, War is a Racket. This is from his book. I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service, and during that time, I spent most of my time as a high-class military muscle man for big business, for Wall Street, and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I helped make Mexico, and especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National City Bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for the American sugar interest in 1916. I helped make Honduras right for the American fruit companies in 1903. In China in 1927, I helped see to it that Standard Oil went on its way unmolested. Looking back on it, I might have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents. You see, if we pulled out of these places completely, then it would be up to these companies working with local governments to ensure their protection. And local boys are notoriously corrupt. That's their culture. They don't see it as that, though. They see it as business as usual. But companies don't want that, though. They want assurance and predictability, and the American government bribing these top leaders brings that. And if some of the local boys get upset about the arrangement, we'll just call them insurgents and kill them. So in essence, our government tells these people in these other countries, keep your mouth shut, play ball, and everything will go fine. But speak up and cause trouble, and we'll be knocking at your door shortly. Anyway, I wanted to get to that real quick before the bottom of the hour break. This is Patrick Regan Show, and when we come back, we'll have a couple more things on foreign policy. Column by Andrew Napolitano, I think you'll find very interesting. And a few other things here. This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Regan Show. We'll be right back.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. I am the magnet. You are the steel. Tori's sitting here reliving the old days.
You know what other group that this guy played for and what other hit they had, don't you?
I'm trying to think. Does he sound like this? Does he sound like this singer?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, I probably don't know then.
Steelers Will. Stuck in the middle with you. Yes, he was the second part of Steelers Will.
Huh.
Thank you, my wife told me that.
Oh, I was going to think you had that kind of knowledge.
I do. I do possess it now.
Yes, she has imparted the knowledge to you.
She imparted the knowledge to me. It's just
and then you imparted the knowledge to me.
Yes.
And all of our listeners. So, and they're all the better for it.
Well, my wife and I, every time we sit around and listen to anything, it's always a trivia quiz, and we quiz each other and try to stump each other. So it's all music.
Who wins the majority of that? I think you.
Straight down the middle, really.
Really?
Yeah, she's as good as I am as far as knowing useless rock trivia.
You haven't worked in this.
Yeah.
You should know more.
Well.
You're letting down the guys, Tori.
I didn't say she knew more. It's
here we
down
go.
The middle, you see, because she's listening probably.
Yeah, I was going to say she's going to be calling here shortly. Yeah. And she won't want to talk to me. She'll just say, "Put Tori on the phone." All right.
No.
She's a nice woman. I met her. I was at your wedding.
Yeah.
So.
You was one of 7 people, I think.
Yeah, well, the cops were there and everything, you know. So
it was in the middle of Market Square on the stage.
Yeah, it was nice. I liked it. It was nice.
It lasted all of 30 seconds.
But you know, I hated to see another soldier fall. That's the thing.
I know it's my third call to duty. So
your third tour.
Third tour.
See, I think I'm in. I guess
I'm not coming back from this one.
I'm in the reserve here. I've not been called up yet, and I've just been avoiding that too. I don't even want to go down that trail.
Well, you did register for the draft, though, right?
I don't know what that would be. Turning 18 or something, or you know, what that equivalent would be. I don't even think I'd register because I don't want some woman coming along and dragging me down an aisle.
I don't know where we're going with this.
Yes. It's going towards getting phone calls from very mad women. Yeah. So you don't have to drag it. It's just a guy dragging the woman down the aisle. Anyway, I'll get to foreign policy. That's a good, safe subject for me. Segue into foreign policy. Yes. Well, the segue would be marriage is a foreign country to me. That would be the segue into foreign policy. Yeah. All right. Anyway, today I was reading, not to hammer Afghanistan over and over again, but a story ran today in the Associated Press, and I think the local paper here in Knoxville had featured as well. What it was talking about is we're beginning the 12th year of the war in Afghanistan. 12 years. Here's how the story started. As the Afghan war began its 12th year on Sunday, fears loom that the country will again fracture along ethnic lines once international combat forces leave by the end of 2014. So, okay, let's probably go back to how these people have been acting for thousands of years, right? Anyway, it goes on. Rival factions who had joined forces against Soviet fighters before they left in early 1989 turned their guns on each other, leading to tens of thousands of civilians being killed. Fed up with the bloodletting, the Afghan people longed for someone, anyone, who would restore peace and order. The Taliban did so. What happened is a group of people got together, a group of Afghans, armed themselves, and essentially took over the country. Pretty much what happens in any country at some point or another. I'm not saying it always works out for the best, but look at history. This is how these things occur. Nothing new here. But once in power, They imposed harsh Islamic laws that repressed women, and they publicly executed, stoned, and lashed people for alleged crimes and sexual misconduct. So, if this was happening, and I'm not saying it wasn't, and the people didn't agree with it, and I'm not saying they did or didn't, then why didn't they rise up and overthrow the Taliban? The Taliban aren't mystical people from some foreign country or out of space with magical powers. They are Afghans. They got together and took over the country. The same could have been done by another group of the population of that country. There wasn't anything special about these people called the Taliban. They all got together, decided what they wanted to do, and did it. The Afghan people already view their government as, this is from the story more, as weak and corrupt, and those doubtful of a peaceful future say that if the upcoming presidential election is rigged and yields an illegitimate leader, or it is rigged and will yield an illegitimate leader, something that kind of sounds like the same thing in this country. And if it's happening in this country, I sure hope someone comes along and interferes in our domestic affairs before something bad happens. I'm sure our government would welcome that with open arms. Further in the story, coalition officials claim they have battered the Taliban, and that while they are capable of staging suicide bombings and insider attacks, the insurgents cannot defeat the Afghan forces on the battlefield. They contend that keeping up the pressure on insurgents will push Taliban leaders to the negotiating table. Yeah, sure, that'll work. Just like it worked with all the other terrorists we have dealt with. They have all eventually come to their senses and negotiated and upheld peace accords with us and our nations, right? I remember them doing that. I remember them getting in line to do that. Also in the story, the international community's pledged to bankroll the Afghan army and police force in coming years will support the Afghan government as it works to provide better governance. In plain English, we are going to continue bribing the Afghan army and police forces for the foreseeable future. And since they don't really believe in what we are asking them to do, nothing is going to change, except we go further and further into debt, throwing good money after bad. So what is the solution to this predicament? In situations like this one, there really doesn't seem to be a good, clear-cut answer. But I do know that spending all of our taxpayers' money and sacrificing Americans' lives while we sit over there trying to find out what they need to do is not the way to solve the problem. Let them spend Afghan time and Afghan efforts and money and lives trying to find the answer to their country's problems. It is none of our business. We don't need to be poking around in these other countries trying to so-called help them decide their future. Let them make the decisions. Decide what they want to do and how they want to proceed. When they get all of that squared away, then we'll send an ambassador to talk with whoever ends up in charge. And if things fall apart, then we recall our ambassador until they get everything sorted out again. It's simple and keeps us out of their internal affairs, something we should be doing anyway. Now, this is kind of why I've not talked about these debates and everything, because when you get right down to it, Mitt Romney supports all this intervention as well. He's not come out against this and said that it's something that he's against. He pretty much agrees with Obama on this. And I don't think, we're coming up on the next break here, so I'll get to this other story real quick. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, this is something good you'll like. The American women are marching in tribal Pakistan saying Obama's worse than Bush. Basically what this is the Code Pink crew are over in Pakistan for a march from Islamabad to the country's tumultuous tribal belt to protest American drone strikes that reportedly kill civilians along with their terrorist targets. Now, one of the representatives said in an email that Obama is worse than Bush in some respects. He uses drones significantly more than Bush ever did, allowing him to carry out covert wars all over the world with zero accountability to Congress or the American public. I'm kind of agreeing with the Code Pink person, which is very, very rare. Anyway, ahead of the protest march, the Associated Press notes the local press is buzzing with news of possible suicide attacks against the activists. The AP notes that a Pakistani Taliban spokesman denounced the march, saying, "We don't need any sympathy from secular and liberal protesters." So, anyway, we're up on the last segment of the Patrick Riggins. So, last break before the last segment. We'll come back after these messages and get to this Andrew Napolitano column. I think you'll really enjoy it. It has a lot to say in it. This is Patrick Riggins, along with Tori spinning the bumper music. We'll be back after a couple of minutes.
Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show. This is Patrick Riggins coming at you live from the studios here, WNOX, scenic Kingston Pike in Knoxville.
I'm going to start introducing you like the Tonight Show.
Here's Patrick.
Patrick Riggins.
And everybody's going, who? Who was that? See, now if you had introduced Spanky, they'd know him. He's famous.
Spanky don't need no introduction.
No, he don't. Everybody knows him. The police know him. The FBI know him. I think the U.S. Marshals know him as well.
Oh,
yeah,
you know he's listening. Yeah, he'll be in the door here in a few minutes.
Yeah, he'll be in the door here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the problem is, what people don't realize, when you've got the microphone, you've got the microphone. And then on his show, he'll have the microphone.
He'll have the last word.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I was thought out too good, Patrick. Anyway.
I'll just call in.
Prank caller.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. A little Pulp Fiction.
Ah, you got that.
I know where that's from.
All right.
All right, real quick, I want to get this Andrew Napolitano column. And he's a good libertarian. If you're not familiar with him, he used to be on have a show on Fox News Business. And he's actually one of the people that you hear at the first of this show. Now, Judge Andrew Napolitano wrote a column this week, and I wanted to be sure my listeners had a chance to hear about it, especially coming on the heels of the debates this week, which noticeably left out any third-party candidates. But if you listened to this show this week, or this last week, you know why. And if you didn't catch it, again, you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. Listen to that last week's show. We talk about the Commission on Public Debates, which is a nonprofit organization formed by the Democrat and Republican parties to give you your two people you're allowed to choose from, and only two. So, anyway, Mr. Napolitano, or the judge, as he's affectionately called, started the column with this: President Obama is a failure as a president, and Governor Romney is a failure as a candidate. When he took office, Obama told the press that if he couldn't cure the economic mess he inherited from President George W. Bush in 4 years, he wouldn't deserve a second term. I guess he didn't anticipate making the mess worse. When he took office, the federal government owed $11 trillion to its creditors. Today, it owes $16 trillion. When he took office, gasoline was running about $1.85 a gallon, and today costs about $3.85 a gallon. This is price inflation that he directly caused by flooding the markets with cash, and that directly harms the middle class and the poor. Unemployment has remained north of 8% throughout his presidency for those still looking for a job, and about 16% if you count all able-bodied out-of-work adults, half of whom have stopped looking for work on his watch. He supported radical fanatics in their takeovers of the governments of Libya and Egypt. even going so far as to help them kill Colonel Gaddafi, the former Libyan strongman who was once our ally. In the process, they opened the jails in Libya, and out came some of the same folks the U.S. government has been fighting against in the Middle East since 2001. Obama pushed from power Hosni Mubarak, the strongman in Cairo, and he was replaced by the head of a criminal organization that Obama's own State Department has prohibited Americans from engaging with. In his lust to build a new world order in the Middle East, a goal for which he roundly criticized President George W. Bush, Obama has unilaterally, unconstitutionally, and unlawfully killed Americans there. He killed Osama bin Laden when he could have captured him, and he let a mob kill our ambassador to Libya when he could have protected him, all to justify a value-free foreign policy that has no lasting friends or enemies, just fleeting interest. And he has killed thousands in foreign lands in secret using drones that will soon find their way here and come back to haunt him. He supports all of Obama's killings in the Middle East, and this is Governor Romney. He supports all of Obama's killings in the Middle East, but he claims he wants to control events there with a much more muscular foreign policy. He cannot justify that view, along with the fact that it has failed and puts us close to bankruptcy and to an electorate weary of wars. Also, Governor Romney rips into Obama's borrowing, but overlooks his running mate, that's Paul Ryan's, voting record in Congress, which authorized all of it. At first, he vowed to repeal Obamacare, saying it is unconstitutional, and then he said he wants to keep the parts he likes, even if they are unconstitutional. What the judge is pointing out is what a lot of us already know. Mitt Romney and Obama are cut from pretty much the same cloth. They may be located at opposite ends of the garment, but they agree on quite a bit of what is going on in Washington. How is Mitt going to bring down the debt and deficit if he isn't willing to stop all our interventions in other countries? If he isn't willing to defund agencies in Washington that are either unconstitutional and or have outlived their usefulness, if they ever really had any to begin with? Again, the key is Congress. If the president is doing something unconstitutional, and he seems to find something new each day to trash that document, then Congress needs to have the guts to impeach him. If the president is doing something unconstitutional, that is the remedy. But they just sit up there in Washington and blame everything on the president when it is them who could stop all of this and turn this country around inside of a month, if they wanted to. If they have people calling them, emailing them, and if necessary, voting them out of office and putting in people who would do these things. We'll go to a call real quick here. We got a couple of minutes. Hey, CJ, this is Patrick on the Patrick Riggin Show. What do you got?
Good afternoon, Patrick. As a former Marine who did 2.5 combat tours in Vietnam, I just wanted to applaud you for mentioning General Book. Every American should read that. It took me 10 years, man, to get outside the matrix when I got back stateside. And we have 10 years to do what needs to be done, but I just wanted to applaud you for mentioning that book, War is a Racket.
War is a Racket, yes.
I'm speaking from experience. It is a racket. And every American needs to read that book. If Romney gets elected, war with Iran, you can write it down, it's going to happen, and it will spell perhaps the collapse for what's left of this country.
Yeah, well, you know, it's that military-industrial complex needs to sell bombs to somebody. So
that's right, man. And the neocons are pushing it behind the scenes. I think personally they're involved in this. I think they're involved in this incident regarding our embassy, consulate there.
Oh,
rogue elements within the Intelligence Committee who are pro-Romney. They want a broader war in that region, and they're behind it. The same people that were behind, it's that old PNAC group, man. It's the same element.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushing Rodney right now.
All right. Well, I appreciate the call there, CJ. We got about a minute left here. But thank you for your service there in Vietnam. We appreciate it. And that's the same thing we were in there, you know, that we're trying to get into now with, well, we've been in with Afghanistan, and we're looking like Syria and Iran now. But anyway, we're up on the end of the show here. excuse me, I want to thank everybody for calling. Still got my cough from 2 weeks ago for everyone who's had that here in Knoxville. Anyway, if you want more information about the show, go to facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. Be sure and hit that like button on Facebook. Also, you can find us on Twitter at Patrick Riggins. Also on YouTube at youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. You can also email us at Patrick Riggins Show, and that's all together at gmail.com, Riggins spelled Riggins. Join me next Sunday afternoon where once again we'll talk more about freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. This is Patrick Riggins, and we will see you next Sunday afternoon at 2. Yeah, we're on 2 now. Have a great week.
Join us again next week for a solid dose of truth on the Patrick Riggins Show. Every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. Be there.